Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is June 14th. Could the LA protests provide the cause for the massive arrests to begin? Now, I got a lot to say today, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get through all my notes, but we will try. Okay. I'm going to tell you up front what to watch for in this dream. Yes, I have read it several times, but sometimes when we get closer to an event, we understand it more. You're going to see money changed at an ATM. Then you can see Trump become new president, i.e. king. And he doesn't say he's put on hand. If you'll notice, when January 20th was there, he didn't put his hand in the Bible. Yes, it did look like it was inadvertent. But some people say maybe it was because he didn't want to be president of the old all-capital United States of America, but wants to be king of the new Republic of the United States. People were celebrating in the streets. Hadn't seen that yet. It didn't happen January 20th. We have not seen the massive arrests because we're not talking about illegal aliens. We're talking about Americans in high places, bankers, businessmen, teachers, things like that. Suitcase Nukes. I think that is about 6 months behind this whatever big event when it does start. Okay, so here's the dream. Jason Meeks, 7/30/2021. I think this is one of the more important ones we've ever got. The dream starts out, we stopped at an ATM machine to get some cash out for the toll road. I put my card in, got $20 out, and ended the transaction, but before I pulled off, I realized I didn't get enough. I need more money, put my card back in, but now what used to be a couple of dollar fee, now is $42, just the ATM fee, meaning there's a change in banking. Could it be that's about to take place this weekend or here in the next 30 days? It could be. As we drove back home, we stopped at a major bank. The television screens were showing massive arrests. An alert went out on my cell phone that Donald John Trump was assuming control as the new president. Now, is that the new president of the Republic of the United States of America? Probably. Or could it be that he's appointed king of the new Republic of the United States? I expected people would be rioting and looting, but people were happy, celebrating the streets, almost like VJ Day in World War II. Even on January 20th, Inauguration Day, we didn't see them celebrating in the streets. Okay, that hadn't happened. In the dream, a man came to me and started crying, saying how all these evil bosses, see, we're not talking about illegal aliens here, all of these evil banker bosses had been arrested and rounded up, telling me he was now in charge of the bank. He was a Christian and had been praying for this for years. As people took to the streets in victory celebration, we joined in. We jumped on the back of the fire truck to catch a ride in the parade because the streets were so full you could not walk. Everything was amazing. Then I heard a huge explosion. A suitcase nuke had been detonated within the city. I didn't see the explosion, but I heard the shock wave. Jumped off the truck, ran into the restaurant, jumped behind the bar to hide. What we were far enough away, no mass nuclear effect, just broken windows and glasses, more like an earthquake. Then an alert came over my cell phone saying nuclear emergency, shelter in place. We're scared but alive. Now, I want to believe that when that happens, the suitcase nukes don't hit that day, that there's like a 6-month delay, because Pastor Massey was shown that's what happens. There's a delay there. Matter of fact, I prefer a lot of the bad stuff delay. Okay, let's go on. So, in summary, this is what it's saying. Could it be that this starts June 14th? I don't think I can say it's none. Okay, so it could be. June 14th, a change in banking. Massive arrests. Rejoicing in the streets upon Trump taking charge. Bankers arrested. Suitcase nukes, hopefully 6 months later. Shelter in place. Excuse me. So 2025 might be the year that Trump's return against massive attacks, new financial systems, massive arrests, celebrations of the streets, suitcase nukes. Remember, Shane Warren said the dollar is going to fall. There's going to be a new Madrid earthquake. As the judgment hits, so are my miracles. Massive arrests, and medical. I heard on 11/11/24. Now let's go on. So 6/8/25, Ron Paul expects BRICS to end dollar dominance with new July strategy. BRICS bloc is set to dismantle dollar supremacy with a sweeping monetary reset that could devastate the U.S. economic power and global financial control. BRICS nations are preparing to introduce what he termed the Rio Reset. Let me try it again. Rio Reset this July in Rio de Janeiro. So he says the initiative, led by Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Iran, United Arab Emirates, is expected to introduce a major strategy to reshape international trade settlement and enhance financial sovereignty. The 17th BRICS Summit is scheduled to take place in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, July 6, 7, 2025. Now, wait a minute. That's a couple of weeks, okay? Then, the Americans are undermining the purchasing power of the dollar and potentially destabilizing retirement accounts, pensions, government benefits. He stated, when fiat money faces competition, Americans discover the true cost of endless money printing. Well, it's not the Americans printing the money. It's the Federal Reserve, the Moloch and Baal worshippers. But he says central banks worldwide appear to be responding to this emerging threat by increasing their gold reserves, as I've talked about many times, signaling a broader move away from dollar dependency, meaning we could see this prophecy right here this weekend. We can't say we're not. Okay, it could happen. Probably going to happen before long right now. Here's some watch points. Now, what's a watch point? It means we can't guarantee it's going to happen right now, but we're watching. We're watchmen. We're supposed to watch. So watch to see if the BRICS currency goes live July 6, 7. There's some more watch points. Could the LA protests provide a cause for massive arrests to begin? Trump announcing a new Federal Reserve chairman to replace Powell happened this past week. Trump's January 6th, is that what we're about to see? In other words, massive arrests of 499,345 people, arrest warrants served. The left is organizing protests, I'll cover in just a second, across America. Trump, it could be, well, not could be, he has called in 2,000 National Guard and 700 Marines. Okay, then we're about to see a military parade. Could it be that all of this is really about to happen this June the 14th? See, Trump called in 2,000 National Guard, 700 Marines. The other watch points are military parade. What if it turns live? What if it's not just a parade? What if it is just an excuse to start moving Marines and all of the equipment into place? All of a sudden, he declares martial law over the incidents that are going on in the cities, and then a constitution gets suspended. Trump names himself king or president, whatever it might be. Insurrection Act is signed. Massive arrests begin. The banks retaliate by confiscating all the money in the accounts or simply closing the banks. No access to money. Trump introduced new currency system apart from Federal Reserve. Could it be? I want to say no, but I can't. It could happen this June the 14th. Now, let me go on talking about communists. June 14th, they are planning a national day of defiance. The left is planning mass protests across the U.S. This is about to shock you. So, June 14th, Trump says the Army parade protest will be met with very big force if there's protesting. What's the very big force? Well, if you go to bad-boys.us, this is what you find. Now, this was several months ago. And at that time, look at that number. There was 484,461 sealed indictments. What's a sealed indictment? It's an arrest warrant, but they seal it so that the person who's named in it doesn't run. They don't run to the hills. They don't go to France or whatever. They don't leave the country. This is what I found on the same site today. Now it's gone from 484,000 to 499,000. Oh, Stan, well, how do you know this is real? If you'll go there and you look at it and you click on one of those little white areas up there, here's what you find. You find page after page after page after page. Somebody is updating this, and I think that's a lot of trouble to go to if it's not real. I think it's real. In other words, they've got We got 500,000 people that they're planning on arresting. And by the way, one arrest warrant, one sealed indictment does not mean one person. One sealed indictment might mean 100, 200 people. So we don't know how many people, but there's almost 500,000 sealed indictments. I've talked about this. This started November the 17th of 2017 when Trump signed an executive order. I've already covered that, so I'll move on. Don't have time to cover it today. Headline, Pentagon to deploy about 700 Marines to Los Angeles. Is it over the protests, or is it they're planning to start rounding up the bad guys? Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and two of the country will attack and defeat America. We see this was taken, I guess this would have been Friday. No, Sunday. But if you'll notice, there's a Mexican lady holding up a Mexican flag, a Guatemalan flag, and they're burning the American flag. But they say, oh, we love America. We want to come for a better life, better job. Well, then how come you're burning a flag? To me, I think there's something a whole lot worse coming here. Now, I've talked about this. You can look these up. These are various programs I've had over the year talking about massive arrests. All of them talking about massive arrests. Now let's go to another thing you need to know. Federal Reserve to oppose Trump on cutting taxes. This is back in January. Trump started asking the Federal Reserve to cut taxes. They wouldn't do it. So now Powell is to be replaced at the Federal Reserve. He's the chairman. And he says, replace him with Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. The president says the new nominee will be announced very soon. Central banks around the world have lowered their key interest rates, but the Federal Reserve here in the U.S. refuses to do so. Why is that important? Trump says, if they spit, we will hit. What's he going to hit with? He's going to hit with 2,000 National Guard and 700 Marines. But what if? What if it's not for the rioters? What if it's for the international bankers, the big business people? This is a statement from the President of the United States concerning the catastrophic Gavin Newsom-inspired riots going on in Los Angeles. The insurrectionists. I want you to look at that word. See that word, insurrectionists? Remember that word, because I'm going to show you something. See, that's he's giving us a hint, if we can get the hint. The insurrectionists have a tendency to spit in the face of the National Guardsmen and women, and others. These patriots are told to accept this. It's just the way life runs, but not in the Trump administration. If they spit, we will hit. Remember I read the article where if they interrupt the parade, if they start protesting the parade, they're going to be hit hard. What's hit hard? Arrested? And is it going to be more than just illegal aliens? It could be more than just people dressed in black. If they spit, we'll hit, and I promise you it will be harder than anything you've ever seen before. Massive arrests. Such disrespect will not be tolerated. So if you go to this website, and I won't say the website name here, it's talking about how this group of people is recruiting people across the nation for June 14th to rise up. This is a list of the cities that they are planning insurrections. The fall of America will start with an internal revolution in America. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government would be busy with internal problems. You see this? This is where they're having training meetings. Back up here. Here, this. It's saying, look across the top. Attend toolkit, gives you very well organized. So they're having planning meetings for the insurrections they plan in these cities. These are, you can click on this, sign up, and you can go get yourself trained on the do's and do nots in these meetings. Event attendee pre-mobilization mass. You remember Karen Bass called for them to start mobilizing? About no kings. On June 14th, Flag Day, President Trump's birthday, wants tanks in the street and made-for-TV display of dominance for his birthday. What if the tanks in the streets are not just for a display? What if it's not just for a parade? What if the prophecy about the tanks rolling down the streets, going into the Supreme Court, the Congress, the White House, and rounding up people that need to be arrested, handcuffs put on them, they're paraded out afterwards? What if all of this parade stuff is just cover for the massive arrests about to start? And I hope I'm not revealing too much here, but we're just talking Bible prophecy here, okay? You can read it. Let's go on. State of place. Why we're mobilizing on June 14th. He says there's no money for Social Security, SNAP, and Medicaid. Yes, there is. They're not cutting it. But again, they lie. We are united against kings. Now, they're saying that Donald Trump wants to become a king. But remember, Henry Gruver, one of the most beloved speakers we have, I know he heard from God. He said he saw Trump as a king. I think they know something. I think the left has a time machine. I think they have a looking glass. They can see in the future, and they're right. He does want to be a king, and he is going to become a king, and they're doing their best to try to stop it, but they're not going to stop it. They're gone too far. This bigger than political disagreement. They've defiled our courts. No, they haven't. Deported American citizens. No, they haven't. They've deported people that are not American. Anyway, you can read it if you want to. No King's Day. These are some flyers and rally signs that you can download and print up or have printed up. In other words, they're very organized. So is this the start of the internal revolution? I think so. But you just wait. They're getting mad about the illegals being rounded up. They're not mad about the illegals rounded up. They realize that the next step is the congressmen, the senators, the big business people, the big religious people that have been doing evil things are going to start getting rounded up. So is this really June 14th? Is this military parade day? Or is this the use of the military for massive arrests? I think the latter. Now, this is an entirely different website. See, this one, let me show you the website here. I don't want to say the website. Look at the top. Okay, now let me show you this one. This is an entirely different website, but they're doing the same thing. They're getting mobilized. They're getting organized to fight against the military parade and against Donald Trump. The 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army, that's what they're celebrating, according to Trump. So he's bringing in the military to roll in tanks down the street. But what if and they're in Washington, D.C., but what if it's not a parade? What if it turns into massive arrests? Just like we've been getting warned since 2017. Maybe the prophets do hear from God. It's Flag Day. Flag Day in the United States observed annually on June 14th, but it's also President Trump's 79th birthday. June 14th. Okay, so what could happen? Could it be that the LA protests provide the cause for massive arrests to begin? Trump has announced a new Federal Reserve chairman to replace Powell. Could it be that they're about to overthrow the Federal Reserve? They're about to bring in a new digital currency, a new financial system, a new flag, a new name called Republic of the United States. Suspend the Constitution. Did you know the Constitution can be suspended for up to 5 years? Yep, it can. Trump's January 6th. So is this Trump's January 6th? In other words, massive arrest of 500,000 people, warrants served, handcuffed, congressmen marched down the street. The left is organizing protests across America. Trump has called up 2,000 National Guard, 700 Marines. Is this about to be the start of it? So Trump called 2,000 National Guard, 700 Marines. What's going on? Military parade turns live. Not just a parade. Martial law declared. Constitution suspended. Trump names himself king. Insurrection Act signed. Massive arrests begin. Banks retaliate. Confiscate all accounts. Simply close. No access to money. Why? Because Trump is doing away with the Federal Reserve. He's coming up with a whole new financial system. Could it be? It starts this June the 14th. Now, do I know that? No, I don't know. But the left is saying they think that's what's going to happen. Trump introduced a new currency system apart from the Federal Reserve. Now let's talk about the Insurrection Act. Okay, so what's the Insurrection Act of 1807? It was passed giving the power or the president power to deploy military forces within the United States to suppress civil disorder, insurrection, or rebellion. It serves an exception to the Posse Comitatus Act. Now, what's the Posse Comitatus Act? That says that you cannot use the American military in any form or shape against American citizens. But the Insurrection Act of 1807 gives a loophole. And that loophole is specifically if there's civil disorder, like in Los Angeles, insurrection. Remember, I told you to remember that word, insurrection? Remember? Trump used that in his tweet. So he's claiming that what is going on in Los Angeles is an insurrection. So that gives him power and authority to sign the Insurrection Act of 1807, and then he can use the military, just like countless prophecies have told us, military in the streets, curfews, people can't go outside their home. Remember I told you, make sure you have food and water and everything you need to stay within the four walls of your home for at least a year. We've been talking about this. Should not be surprised. Should not be surprised. Okay, key provisions. State requests. The president may deploy troops when requested by a state governor or legislature to suppress insurrection. But it also says, here in just a minute, he doesn't have to be requested. Unlawful obstruction. The president may act without the request. So point number one, just thrown away. Without the request of the state, if there is unlawful obstruction of law or opposition to federal authority, like, see, so the left kind of shot themselves in the foot. The left kind of put themselves into a bad position by rioting. They've allowed Trump a legal means to take over the country and to clean it. Civil rights enforcement. The president may use force to protect constitutional rights when they are being systematically denied and state authorities fail or refuse to act, like Karen Bass and like Kevin Newsom. Did I say that right? Newsom. There you go. Or Newsom. Proclamation requirement. Before acting, the president must issue a public proclamation ordering insurgents to disperse. What have they been doing the last 4 days? They've had the police with big bullhorns telling them that this is an unauthorized meeting. What was it? It was unauthorized, illegal, and they should disperse and go home. And have they been doing it? Nope. So if you look at what Trump has done, this is actually very smart. My understanding is all of this started in 1963 when President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. The military intelligence said, we've had enough of this. This shadow government, this Moloch on ball, this cabal of evil people just thinks they can just kill whoever, whenever they want to. We got to put a stop to it. So in 1963, good guys in the military intelligence started working for the day when it could arrive, when they put a stop to it. And they are well planned out. They've had this thing planned for years. Is this the plan? Now, I'm going to let you pause and look at this because I want to show you something else. And if I have time, I'll come back to it. But this was reportedly Los Angeles Craigslist. And look at what it says. We're looking for the toughest, I won't say that word, in the city of Los Angeles, seeking extremely tough, brave men or new crew. I am building. Compensation, $6,500 to $12,500 per week. That's pretty good money. We're forming a select team of the toughest dudes in the area. This unit will be activated only when the situation demands it, but you get paid every week no matter what. High pressure, high risk, no room for hesitation. We need individuals who do not break, panic, or fold under stress. Are basically all around bad dudes. Physical strength, speed, conditioning is important, but mental toughness is everything. If you're not the biggest guy in the room, but you're one to follow things when they're bad, that's who we're looking for. We're recruiting those who are already hard and ready for confrontation when necessary. However, we train you if necessary. What we're looking for is mental toughness. You keep a level head under pressure. Don't panic. Bravery. You face danger head on. You don't hesitate. Click here. Now, if you put all that together, does it look like something is happening June 14th, 2025? It does to me. We're having a prophecy, healing, and deliverance conference. Now, this is only at our small church. There's only 100 people, room for 100 people. So if you want to go, you got to go to prophecyclub.com, click on this right here. Over here on the right, see the red arrows pointing. Click on that, and it'll take you back over to this where you can register. It tells you all about it. Now, if you've been with Prophecy Club for a while, you know that these used to be an organization that we sponsored. Then Joseph Kitchen came along, so we dropped this one. But there's been a need to bring this one back. So what's the difference? This is wheat berries that you grind up and make your own homemade whole wheat bread. This is food that comes in a bucket. You just add water. Some of them you have to add boiling water, and you make your own food. So there's different kinds of food. So if you want this kind of food, you go to heavensharvest.com, heavensharvest.com. Use the promo code prophecy, get you a 10% discount. If you don't want to lose your life's savings, if you have an IRA or a 401k, the thing to do is call 800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. These folks are Christians, and they specialize in helping people not lose their life savings in the event of a stock market crash and things like that. Look, most of the 401ks, most of the IRAs are in paper, backed by paper, and as Lindsey Williams says, if it's in paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. You can lose it all. 1-800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. Hey, give them a call. Doesn't hurt, doesn't cost you anything. See if they can give you some good advice. In 2021, I started making bread. And long story short is I believe God showed me that wheat is God's famine food, just like it was famine food back in the 7 years of plenty, 7 years of famine, days of Pharaoh and Joseph. And I believe that that's what God has planned to feed his people. And you get it by going to josephskitchen.com. 3 steps. First, you want to get a machine package. Second, you want to order 6 ingredients and watch some videos, download the recipes to be able to make the bread. Here's some bread that I made. In my case, I lost weight, lowered my blood pressure, gives me more energy. I eat a morning, slice in the morning, slice in the afternoon. Always a slice before I go play racquetball. Go check it out, josephskitchen.com.